Hey, welcome back to Appalachian Expose, everybody. I say this every week because these are all like friends of mine, people that we travel the roads with. What we try to do here is to give you like a look inside the business, but not necessarily breaking the kayfabe. It's to give the fans, you fans, the idea of what we do, how we perform what we do, and what the unwritten context behind that is. That there's a relationship between all of us in the dressing room. We might drive in different cars, we might be on different shots on any particular night. But like yesterday at the Chillicothe convention, somebody said, hey, aren't these family reunions great? And that's pretty much what they are for us. So without further ado, I'm sitting here today, well, of course, with Luke Hawx. I've known Luke for a long time. We'll get into it instead of getting ahead of myself here. I told Luke off camera before we started, these are the conversations that if Luke and I were in a car today driving to Timbuktu to have a show, and this is the first time we're around each other, these are conversations we have. These are the things that we wrestlers ask each other, talk about, and take the monotony off the road. So welcome, appreciate you being here.
Thank you, appreciate being here, yeah. Road stories, but without the road, right?
Yeah, road, good way to put it. Road stories without the road. Maybe at the, hey Moose, rename this Appalachian Expose to Road Stories Without the Road. So let's start way at the very beginning. When did you start watching wrestling?
As long back as I can remember. You know, I was born in 1981. Yeah, baby, I am. Three's my earliest memory, though. So yeah, 3 is like I remember watching. I was fascinated with it.
Yeah.
And there's a picture I have. I don't have much because I grew up real poor, poverty, and you know some of my story. We can get into it if we want to, but I have the big rubber Hulk Hogan white tights.
Okay,
you know.
The
Big ones.
The really big.
No, the 10-inch one or whatever. You know.
No joints bending.
No, the big rubber. If you throw it, knock you out, right? Big piece of rubber that's more like a brick. Right. So I have a picture of me like just holding that when I'm 3 too. So like it was always from that point on.
Wow.
And what I relate back to with it is, you know, growing up the way I did life was terrible. That just like unbearable.
Right.
Really bad.
Sure.
So wrestling was the only escape I had with all the drugs and alcohol and house to house and all this stuff. I mean, I was homeless a lot of my youth. Not a lot of my youth, but the early years. That 5, the 8-year-old, 9-year-old.
The formative years.
Right. The very formative years. Sure. And I was living with Mom, and she was a crackhead. You know, drugs, every you know, besides heroin, pretty much every drug in the book.
Sure.
They had and they offered it to her. She's going to take it.
Of course.
And then that was first. So we just bounced house to house all those years, and never had sleep on this person's couch. Or
not to interrupt. I'm curious. Obviously, that age, somebody has to be trying to take. Who was like making sure you were fed?
Not me. So no bullshit. I was just telling my son this. So I told my 11-year-old son yesterday. I was like, you know what's crazy? When I was 8, I was running the streets and doing whatever I wanted to do. Legit. Like I would leave for 2 or 3 days and stay at a friend's house, and then just come home. My mom wouldn't have no idea because we didn't have a phone.
How did, in that system, first of all, where we're talking about, Louisiana, right?
Louisiana, yeah.
Were there no cops seeing this young kid? How did the worst element, like the drug addict, says, hey kid, try some of this, or?
That was always around, but you gotta think, so it wasn't like I was some kid from the rich neighborhood that got thrown into a bad situation.
Yeah.
I grew up in a bad situation, so everything I knew, they were all, the whole family, both sides, you know, it was just chaos all the time. So and nobody had stability. So I didn't know any better. I just knew I didn't like it, and I knew it was bad.
Sure.
And while everybody else was participating, I stepped back. And I think that's one reason why, like,
it's incredible, actually.
Well,
incredible.
Yeah, because I mean, look, here's the truth: is when I was young, you know, they beat the piss out of me, or it was just trauma, and I was a young, sweet kid that just wanted love. And I didn't understand any of it, but I hated it.
Go through that.
And well, it is what it is because it made me who I am, and it made me where I had to be tough. And I had to learn to defend myself, and I had to learn to stand up for myself, and I had to learn to punch people in the mouth instead of just saying,
please.
Hey, yeah. Instead of saying, hey man, can you stop? Or hey man, nah. You know what I mean? Like, like that's, so It was rough, but it taught me a lot of valuable lessons because, like I said, look, I got two brothers. They're both heroin addicts, and unfortunately, you know, I'm gonna get a call any day now from them. Nothing I can do, and I love them and I care about them. But I've learned a long time ago that I gotta separate myself from these people because their life don't change.
Yeah, it drag you down with them.
Drag you down with them 100%. They don't understand. Right. So and all of them. So I understand because I come from it. They don't understand because I've evolved.
Right.
And they can't relate to the lifestyle.
Sure.
Once you became successful, right? It was a big night and day difference.
Chasm. Yeah, it's two different universes, right? I just want to interject something here, and please, no one take this as any kind of a lecture. For you younger kids out there, because I hear all this stuff today, kids have anxiety. Every human being has anxiety. Each of you out there listening to this story, you have a choice in this. You can either become the victim and say, well, I'm going to just go ahead and digress and be a drug addict or do whatever. Or you can, like I tell my own kids, you're a hell of a lot tougher than you think you are. Push that envelope. Because I can't even, in my brain, I'm thinking, as my boy's 8 years old, out wandering the neighborhood someplace, no supervision, all these negative influences, the fact that you've come through to this side, dude, like there's a movie there.
Well, yeah,
there's a story
I hope
there.
so. And I want to write a book. I just haven't had the time.
Yeah, inspiring.
Yeah, it is cool. Thank you. It was rough. It was just, but like I said, it wasn't like I just got thrown in the street and go, oh my God, how am I gonna eat?
Right.
That was our lifestyle.
Sure.
So I grew up knowing they hustled.
Yeah.
They were always stealing. They were always robbing. They were, everything. Like, dude, I can tell you, I don't know how old I was, but at one point, I had a guy OD in the house with me while he was babysitting me.
Jesus Christ.
And I had to sit there. I had to sit there with a guy who died on the couch next to me while I'm a kid.
And how old were you at this time?
Somewhere in that range.
My God.
8, 9, 10 year old.
Again, like my face, like here comes my parental oh my God thing, right? Where there's a guy with drugs, obviously. I've got an 8, 9 year old kid here, and this guy dies, and these drugs are sitting here. By the grace of God, or whatever euphemism you want to use, that you didn't decide to go, hey, what is that? Taste it.
Well,
whatever,
and to be honest, I don't even remember if drugs were sitting there or not. He might have just took some.
Use them all.
Yeah, and but I just didn't want anything to do with it because drugs were always around, smoking, any kind of drugs. Yeah. Like I said, outside of really heroin, which we seen,
right?
But it wasn't common in my house. Yeah. It was coke, crack, weed, drugs, alcohol. Alcohol was the worst. It's like, when you wake up, you popping a beer.
Yeah.
No jobs. Everybody lives off the government.
Right.
And
just barely eking by.
Oh,
living.
They don't eat. They didn't eat. They barely ate. So it was up to me. I go to the mall around the corner, dig in the fountain, that's what we do every day.
Wow.
Go dig $1 or $2 out of the fountain. You could get a combo meal for $2 back then at McDonald's. You could.
Yeah.
I spent, not that I eat fast food all the time, but on the way here at the airport in Charlotte, I got a combo meal last night. It was $22.
we stopped on the side of the road the other day, got some Popeye's chicken. There was a 14-piece comp, $50.
Yeah. $50. Yeah. And I still said I got a combo meal and it was $22, and I was like, bruh. I remember I got this guy shows my age, he said I'm young, but I remember I got a number 3 from McDonald's, quarter pounder with cheese, the whole combo meal, $3.25 with tax.
Yeah.
$3.25 with tax. Yeah. Now it's $22.
During all this trauma, because again, as an educator, and I put my educator hat on, we're told that this is like those formative years. This is where your life's paradigm, the blueprint for your life is being stamped into your brain. How was it that you were able to? I'm loss of words because during these formative years where it's imperative that a parent or some fatherly figure, some adult figure is telling you, stay away from that, do this, don't do that, and you had none of that.
Yeah, well, nobody was. Only people that told you to stay away from it was like school, pretty much. Of course they tell you at home,
right?
But they
tell you and then they.
Yeah, it wasn't like they always contradicted themselves, always, and they always.
That's got to be confusing for an 8-year-old kid. I mean, it's a mixed message there.
You know, I hated life.
Yeah.
I used to cry every night and ask God why I was alive.
Yeah.
You know, legit.
Wow. My God.
That was rough because I don't think about it as much now. Like, I don't dwell. I get upset thinking about it, but it was just like, I did not understand why I had it so bad and why I had it. Because I could tell you stories, and there's a lot of stuff I don't even talk about. Of course, So I just keep it to myself. And it's like, the reason I do is because some of the stories I tell, people don't believe you.
Yeah.
They don't think that people live like that.
Right.
Because they don't live like that.
Yeah.
And then some of the people that were involved in it, when I tell them some of the stories, they go, that never happened. I said, you were fucking drugged up out of your mind. How are you going to tell me it didn't happen?
Yeah.
Like, I watched you do it.
Right.
Or you did it to me.
Yes.
So how are you going to tell me that it didn't happen?
Do you think that's partially like a defense mechanism? Because if I was that person that had done that or allowed those things to happen, I've got to put a wall up, because otherwise I've got to say to myself, this kid could have ended up dead, kidnapped, human trafficked. I mean, a gazillion different things, and that's a lot of responsibility to take on. So I'll just pretend it didn't.
I don't think. Look, I really just don't think they care, because it's just life, right? And everybody's just trying to
get through,
and they don't know any other way, and they're all miserable. But they put themselves through it, the misery, you know. And I didn't understand. I just hated it.
Yeah.
So I kept asking why it always happened, and you know why it was happening to me, and I wanted to get away. And when my life changed, I went into a boys' home right there, because like six, jump around a little bit, you know, like 6th grade, around those years, I missed like 2 years of school almost straight. Like, I barely went because my mom didn't make me go. We live house to house, so you going to school?
District to district.
Yeah,
or between the cracks.
Well, either that or like we didn't have a place to live. Do you think she was worried about me going to school when we didn't sleep somewhere? You know, when we didn't know where we were sleeping the night before?
Yeah.
So like, or if we were somewhere and she'd wake you up, you going to school today? I was 10 years old.
Right.
You think I want to go to school?
Of course not.
I said, no, I'm not going to school. And she'd go, okay. So eventually this court stepped in and were like, yo, why did you fail 2 years for missing more than half the school year?
Yeah. Were you appointed typically now, I'm not so sure about then, they'll appoint, like Cody Michaels does this in the court. He'll step in with a kid that's like at risk like this and sort of mentor them. Did they give anybody to you like that?
No, but I did have what do you call, not a probation officer, because that's jail stuff, but social services. The kids, the social services used to come back over all the time and check, but they never did anything, no matter where we're at. But what I've learned is poverty is so oversaturated with poverty in the United States, everywhere, right? We're so oversaturated with it that they can't keep up.
Yeah.
So no matter if they wanted to, you have to have really a lot of times, the kid has to be lucky, or there has to be some kind of personal attachment for him to go, okay, we're taking this kid out this bad situation.
Hundreds of thousands.
Right, because thousands and thousands, you just can't compete. Yeah. And I've learned that because, man, I've tried to help so many, and because that's how I made it through the system, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I realized that, so I go back and I do a lot of giving back, and a lot of fundraising, a lot of time with these kids.
Yeah.
And I realize there is really going to be one, unfortunately, in every.
Sure. Yeah.
You know.
Well,
100 maybe. Unfortunately, it's just because like some of you can't. They've already given up hope.
Yeah.
You go in there, you talk to them. Their lives are already miserable. They've already spent their childhood trauma. Right. And they just don't want to hear anything you have to say.
Set.
Oh yeah. So it's rough and
heartbreaking.
It's very heartbreaking, but it's.
So when I was an educator, and I would go into those classrooms, and you could pick the kids out. You might be wrong on one or two of them, but you pretty much understand the ones that were hungry, the ones that didn't have a good home to go back to. And as an educator then, I guess naive, I would think, how is the system allowing this to happen? We pick up the newspaper and you see this kid that's been in the system ends up dead by the mother or the father, some family member. And you go, how could that possibly happen? And I think now, like as you're saying, and as I got older, realizing it's not just a dozen kids in this county or 100. It's boom. There's a population.
Exactly. You can't keep up with it.
And the counselors, to be fair to them, some might think are garbage, but to be fair to them, if you've got 100 kids on your docket, if I spent 24 hours a day just going around, I couldn't cover them all.
You couldn't, yeah.
Yeah.
And you got to have your time too, and you got to have your family, and, you know, and there's I know a lot of guys who do a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But
it's got to seem like trying to drink the ocean, right? Like I can put a dent on it, but I'm not going to get that whole thing down.
That's a good way to put it.
Just so much of it.
But if you can help some, look, dude, without help, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So who was it then? Like in your life, like who, in those years, who was?
I went into Boys Town from the years of 11 to 15.
Oklahoma?
Well, so the original is Nebraska, but I was in Louisiana.
Okay,
so they have branches across the U.S. in every state. So all spread out through the state, different cities. You know, every pretty much big city has Boys Towns.
Yeah.
So I spent Boys Town 11 to 15. Then I came out and I got adopted at 15 by my high school disciplinarian, and that was a big story. I didn't really get adopted by him just because I got the boys' home.
Mm.
The boys' home came to me. They said, "Hey, well, the courts." They said, "You're 15. Your dad is financially capable of taking care of you.
Mm.
We just never had a relationship. Always hated me. Didn't want nothing to do with me. Was and
foreign to me."
Yeah, which is crazy, right? I never understood it, and we just never had a relationship. And he was always it was just a nasty relationship.
Yeah.
But in my mind, as a 15-year-old, I thought, I can go out. If I go back with my dad, I don't need a relationship with him because I never had one.
Right.
If I go live with him and they force him to make him I have to live there.
Right.
There was no thought of why would I go somewhere where I'm not wanted.
Mm.
It was only I'm used to being places I'm not wanted.
Yeah.
I just need a place to lay my head, and then I can go chase girls.
Sure.
And I can go hang out with my friends.
Be a teenager.
And to be a teenager.
Be a screwball.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And run the streets.
Yeah.
And that's how I thought. So when they gave me the option, they said your dad's financially capable of taking care of you. Do you want to stay in the boys' home until you're 18, or do you want to go back with your dad? I was like, I want to live with my dad.
Yeah.
Even though we had zero relationship, and all he did was butt heads. So I went and lived with him, and it lasted a month.
Wow.
We got in a fight in the attendance office.
Yeah.
Because he came to school and said I was skipping school, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
And they have everything computerized. I said, no, every class he's he's on record those days.
Right.
And he says, well, you still, this, that. We started going at it. I said, fuck you.
Sure.
Next thing you know, we're going at it in the office.
Yeah.
And they got to get between this, and they said, we can't send this kid home. He just got out of boys' home. What are we going to do with him?
Yeah.
And they were baffled because nobody knew it. Dude, they knew my situation. They knew I was fresh out the boys' home. They knew that I didn't have any other family there. So the disciplinarian knew me because he ran TV productions. He used to before the program got shut down. Mm. So I was trying to get in TV productions because I wanted to be in television.
Yeah, sure.
And
it's a magic land.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So and it was my fascination, wrestling television, and wrestling was on television.
Yeah.
So he said, look, I'm going to take him in for the night. Mm. I know I can get fired for this, but I can't let this kid go on the street. I know he's not a bad kid.
Right.
I know he needs some guidance.
Sure.
And, we know his situation.
And did you guys have a decent relationship?
No. Just the relationship was he was the disciplinarian, but the relationship was like he had a broken leg at one point, and his whole leg was in a cast. Mm. So when he would get there in the mornings, I would see him carry shit out of his car and crutches, and I would say, hey, let me help you with that.
Yeah.
I would just volunteer to help him. Sure. Anytime I see him help, while he was hurt. So things like that stood out where, okay, this kid's a good kid because I didn't have to ask this kid.
Yeah, between all that noise, there's a decent kid in there somewhere.
Yeah. So he took a risk, and he took me in one day, and one day turned into 2 days, 2 days turned into 3 days, and they didn't have nowhere to send me. So he just said, hey, if your parents will sign you over, I've been thinking about it, I'll adopt you till you're 18. And this man had no family. Like, he had his mother, father, brothers, sisters.
Huge thing.
No marriage, no kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then...
how old was he at this time?
He was probably in his 30s.
Yeah, so wow.
Yeah.
He's still young enough to start a family if he wanted to, or...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And, and it was weird at first because people think, oh, this single guy takes in a young kid. Young kid. Well, even back then, there's a single guy takes in a young kid.
Yeah.
And you've seen a lot of that going around too.
Yeah.
But with this, it was completely different. It wasn't like that. Oh, it's just like a good person trying to help you.
Trying to help another person.
Yeah, that needed it. And he was in a position too financially and everything,
Sure.
and he knew, you know, and he thought it out.
Yeah.
And what did I do? I moved in with him, and my parents signed the paperwork over to him right away. And I ran out and got some girl pregnant.
Oh shit.
Yeah, which ended up being Perry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, was there any blowback on this guy?
Well, yeah, because he was really upset.
First, do you want to say his name?
Kevin, yeah, Kevin. So Kevin, and you know, he's my dad. He took me in, he adopted me, and he taught me how to be a man.
Yeah.
And he started taking me to do all the things that I didn't do in life and didn't want to do in life and had no concept on, like snow skiing and vacations and family vacations and camaraderie and going outside and teaching me how to, you know, build a fence or a deck or things I didn't want to do, but things that were necessary for me to become a man.
Right.
And become a successful leader and a father and all those things. So I didn't have any of that, and it was very difficult to take a wild animal from the jungle
at that
and
age.
just at that age, and just put him in a cage and go, yo, you're supposed to be tame now, and like don't bite me when I pet you.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure.
So they put me in his house, and you know, like I said, I was used to being at a boys' home. I was used to running the streets. I was used to fighting, and it was just fight.
Yeah.
Everything was fight, because if you couldn't, how'd you get your point across?
Right.
You fought.
Yes. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that was what it was, no matter what.
And so to interject for a second, at this point, you're what, 15?
Yeah, 15.
So 15, again, that would be in equal years, like 10th grade. And like I said before,
yeah, 10th grade when I had my son.
In my experience of being a teacher, the kids to like 8th or 9th grade, you might be able to make a little twinge here, change there, iron that out there. But by 10th grade, it's the concrete set.
Yeah, it's real hard.
Yeah, so here you are with this imprint of how you succeeded, lived life, survived in life.
Survived.
And now here's a guy telling you, no, not that way, this way.
Well, yeah, because, you know, you told chase girls, get laid.
Sure, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Chase money, get money, come up and get whatever you can from anybody. You know what I mean? It was always, the world's going to screw you. This guy, everybody's out to get you.
Before they get you.
Yeah, and that's not really how it is.
Right.
It's like you have to watch everything, watch the guys who are trying to get you, but you don't just take advantage of someone who's just, you know.
Trying to help.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what they did. And I seen that, and I was never felt right with it. So I was never comfortable stealing. I was never comfortable lying. It was just one of those
Someplace inside you, there was a trigger that you knew was wrong.
Right. I mean, I'll give you an example. Like my mom, so in that young 8 to 10 range, one day I came home from school at the place we were staying, and nobody was there. So, nighttime comes around, nobody comes home. Day goes by.
Yeah.
Next day. Now, I don't remember if I woke up and went to school or not, or what the fuck the deal was. I don't remember, because it was so long ago. And you know, you're talking 30 years plus years ago. But I know 3 days went by, and my mom, no one came home. My mom didn't come to the house we were staying at. And we did have a phone at the time. It was always, didn't have a phone, on off, yeah. No TV, TV gets stolen or pawned for drugs.
Sure.
So the phone rings, pick it up real quick. You got a collect call from Tracy. Press 1 to accept, press whatever you're trying.
Right.
It's my mom.
Yeah.
1. Mom. I start crying, crying. Where you at? You know, she's like, oh, it's okay, you know. I'm sorry. Look, I'm in the mental hospital. And I'm like, what's wrong? She's like, I had a nervous breakdown because you've been so bad.
Wow. Come on.
Yeah. I had a nervous breakdown.
And it's your fault.
And it's my fault. and I can't. And so I'm crying. Please come home. Please come home. I'll be good. I'm not going to get in trouble. And I wasn't a bad kid, bro. The only thing I did legit was fight. Because it was just survival. Yeah, just, you know. And like I said, I would steal money out the fountains and stuff to go get food.
Yeah.
But I had hustles. Like I would go clean up a pizza place, Little Caesars, at midnight. At that age. And they would let me make as many pizzas as I wanted. Anytime I came and bring it home. Like the guy was just a nice guy. His name was Perry. But yeah, so my mom's, you know, just telling me, it's my fault, and I'm crying. She's don't cry, it's gonna be all right. I don't know when I'm gonna come home, but eventually I'll come home. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be so good when you come home. Please just come home, you know.
Sure.
I don't remember what happened after that.
Incredibly traumatic to a kid.
Very traumatic.
Sure.
But this is what I do know. I come to find out as soon as she came home, because people talk, she wasn't in the mental hospital, she got popped for cocaine.
The jail, yeah.
Yeah.
But still your fault.
So it tells a kid though, hey, and I can't tell you I'm in jail. I'm going to tell you I'm in a mental hospital because I had to break down because of you. Yeah. So
not because I was doing drugs.
Yeah.
Wow.
So like it's good that I can sit back and laugh about it now, and, and have a story with a buddy of mine.
Sure.
Instead of going,
I'm a victim. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna go to work tomorrow.
Yeah. You can be a victim.
Yeah.
Transcend beyond it.
Is it fucked up? You goddamn right it's fucked up. But
yeah, and you can laugh about it in a way. I think it's so that you found a place to put it that's a healthy place, not.
Well, yeah.
I'm gonna slice my wrist because I'm a victim.
It sucks, dude. Because I mean, it is what it is. But like I said, you can laugh about it. I enjoy telling the stories because I had a conversation with my dad the other day. He came over, my real dad. Because we kind of mended the fences a little bit. And what I mean by mending the fences is like I explained to him, no matter how much you come around now and try and be cool and tell me you love me and tell me all this stuff, you didn't do it when you were supposed to do it.
Right.
But I'm not harboring ill will. I just cannot build a relationship with you.
Sure.
I can be cool with you. We can have lunch. I can say
close.
Yeah.
Close.
Exactly. Yeah. There's always gonna be a way because you're not my dad. You didn't raise me, and when I needed something, you were never there. No matter what I needed, you were never there.
Sure.
So, and I think now, if I needed something now, you still wouldn't be there. But the thing is, I'm a man and I don't need you.
Yeah.
And I want to be there for my kids, and I don't want to make those mistakes.
Right.
So the best thing I can do, and he denies everything, or he says he doesn't remember, or he doesn't understand. It's the same old shit.
Yeah.
So he asked me, came over a couple weeks ago, and he said, hey, I want to talk to you. And I said, no problem, come talk. So he came over, and he says, I'm trying to think of what specifically he said, but he said, you got to stop telling people I was a drug addict. And I said, well, I don't specifically say you were a drug addict because you weren't.
Right.
My mother and their son was a drug addict. Now, did you do some things? Yeah, but not like that. You know what I mean? Anything. He dabbled in weed, probably pills. You know, I know I've seen coke in the house before. But, like, I said, you weren't a father. And I'm not going to stop telling these stories because people need to hear them. Because it's going to help other kids that go through situations.
There's a kid out there enduring maybe similar or different, but in that same thing that needs to hear, you can get ahead.
You can get ahead. It's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? And it sucks. It's really tough. It's the worst thing.
Sure.
But it does get better. You know, if you keep fighting, you can get away. You have to separate yourself from those situations and those people and get around positive people, which is also hard to do.
Yeah.
Because
they don't want you around.
Well, they don't want you around it. And if all you know is a negative environment, how do you act when you're in a positive environment?
Right.
You act negative.
Yeah.
Because you're not used to positive, you know.
Yeah.
So you have to learn those things. But with my dad, he was just like, look, you know, I'm working really hard, and he started crying. I never really seen him cry before. He's just like, he didn't bawl, but he's just like, I just want forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, I understand you're looking for forgiveness.
Yeah.
And I said, I can forgive you, and I do forgive you, because the reason I forgive you is because I'm the only person in my family to make it out. The only one to graduate high school. My son's the first one with a name to graduate college. You know, we're the only.
Not proud of that at all, are you?
Well, yeah, exactly, bro. It's the best, right?
Sure.
So I had all these struggles. I said, I forgive you, but I can't forget things. And even though you don't remember, you deny it. I'm going to tell these stories, and I'm going to tell what happened, because it is very important for those that may be going through it or have similar tough situations, and they need to know that there's an outlet. You know, there is an outlet. There's an outcome on the positive side if you work towards that. If you repeat that same cycle, nothing changes. But you have to be willing to get away, and it goes back to when you said my earliest memories of wrestling. I really relate a lot to it. Of course, there's resilience and all that stuff, but there's a lot you have to do with wrestling, because wrestling was what made me want to get away from everything and chase it. And, you know, I wanted to go to Philadelphia. I did. Because of people like you.
That's again, like you're looking at a TV screen, and like I remember when I was a kid watching the WWF WOR show, I had never been to New York, but to me, New York was like OTB, the racetrack. And like that to me was what New York was, because that's what I had seen as a kid on that. And it's that magic land, someplace that nobody, like Oz, right? You can't really get there, but it's there.
And you did it. What else to say? So you did it. Yeah. I watched you do it. You know what you meant to me, and we talked about that in our history.
Yeah.
And so I'll go back and toot your horn a little bit, which was the coolest thing, and that's why you were so probably influential for me, is because I came from such a rough environment. I'm trying not to get upset about this, but it comes full circle because I was thinking about this up here. I said, I come from the fucking bottom of the bottom, bro.
Right.
The bottom.
Yeah.
I'm the only person to make it.
Yeah.
My dream was to be a wrestler. You know, and I broke off into film and television, thank God, and that changed my life.
Yeah.
And my history was guys like you, and looking up to you were my favorite, and we had our falling out and all that shit happened.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you were my favorite because I love the Hogans and the Warriors and the show.
Yeah.
But when you came along and I seen ECW and you said, "Fuck you," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt that.
Yeah.
Because that was my life.
Sure.
That was my life, and nobody can relate to the darkness and the grit. I didn't have the show. I didn't have the clowns and the positivity and the hugs and the love.
Right.
It was like, you want to hold me down? Fuck you.
Yeah.
And I related to that.
Yeah.
I related. You don't know how much it affected a kid like me.
See, it get goosebumps because and you're in our business, you know this. When we're doing this stuff in front of the camera, an angle, whatever. First of all, those promos that I were doing were coming from the heart because of all the crap I'd seen in the business and didn't like. But you really can't imagine on the other side of that.
Right.
There's somebody really watching and somebody really getting it in context and understanding it. But at some point you think, I hope somebody is, I'm sure somebody is. But like in a weird way, like that our paths have crossed, that I can see that. And first of all, don't give me any credit because everything you did, right? Like my sister and brother have an amazing home, right? A beautiful house, and they're very religious. So I'll say, look what Jesus has given us, look at what God has given us. I said, well, nothing, that doesn't be disrespectful to anybody, but I don't remember ever seeing Jesus come out here and cut these trees down and throw these rocks. I saw you guys doing it. You did that heavy lifting, and to me, the story there is that, okay, this big mouth that I kissed my mother with, that somebody out there, if you were the only one that got it and put it in context, that's worth all the gold in the world to me because it helped steer you in a way. And sort of the same way, like far less. I didn't have the greatest upbringing, but I had love and all of that. But that I could hear this person tell me a story and sort of get it in context when nobody else ever did. So it's just a little interjection there because again, the goosebumps is looking at thinking, while we're doing those promos in '93 in that rat-infested bingo hall, that there was somebody out there that it was landing on. In context. Incredible.
No, and I'll show you camera. I appreciate it. Like that stuff drove me, and it made me think about it. And it happened all the years of hard work. And today was the first time where I sat back this morning. Actually, I told my wife this morning on the phone. I said, this is like I've been feeling kind of content lately.
Yeah.
For the first time in my life, and at 41, and I never felt content before.
Yeah.
And it's been happening. I've got a lot of life changes happening right now for me, both positively and some on the negative side because with growth,
Yeah, getting in.
Yeah. So
it's a package.
Exactly. So I was like, man, I just realized that I really came to the conception this morning that for the first time. I realized that I've worked to where I made it, and what made it wasn't money, and it wasn't the success in the houses, and and that was very important to have my financial backing secure, and my kids, and making sure I was taken care of because again I had to build it from nothing.
Yep.
So that was very important. But in the process of building all that, what I didn't really take into context was that I've worked up to the level that I am with the guys that I looked up to and I loved so much. And that, and it's crazy because I'm going, wait, no. I'm here coming to shoot an interview with them and doing an appearance alongside them. We got, I'm going with Lex Luger and Arn Anderson to sign autographs alongside them.
Right.
Not
that happened.
Yeah. You're like, they're older than me. I watched them, watched you. Like, it's like now all of a sudden I'm working together with you guys, and you guys are, we always talk.
Right.
We kick ideas around. We do this, and I go, every time we do it, I tell my wife or my son or anybody, I'm like, it's just so nice to be able to do that with somebody that I cared about so much.
Yeah, but that wasn't given to you.
No, we had to earn it.
You earned it, right?
Yeah, but you had to earn it too, because you go back to our phone out, like, we had to earn each other's trust.
Yeah.
I was a kid looking up to you as an idol, right?
Yes.
Like, didn't know you personally, didn't know anything about you. You didn't know me personally.
Right.
And you were on, I don't want to say high horse, but you were on a high horse because you fucking did it all.
Yeah.
There's nobody around anymore that I can even think of that has the accomplishments that you have.
Well, I appreciate that, but I always tell people, and we were just having this conversation on the way down yesterday. It's been a long time, but I can still remember that kid at Freedom, Dominic Canucci School in Freedom, Pennsylvania. That Mick Foley and I, you guys have heard of Mick Foley, I'm sure. And I remember us talking, like, we knew we were okay for like local wrestling. We could wrestle here in Pittsburgh or Cleveland or somewhere, New Brighton, Pennsylvania or wherever. But we were nowhere near as good as those guys on TV, like Harley and Brett and Kurt and all these guys. I'd be looking at it going, amazing, Bruno and all those guys. And I remember the first time it hit me when Mick and I are sitting in the dressing room, I'm looking around and there's Bruno, and there's the Samoans, and there's the Valiants. And I'm looking and going, like, how did we get in here? Like, where, how, like.
And you were young.
Yeah, very young.
How old were you?
I was now 59 now, but was in that time, 84 was 19. People earlier, but I was going to college too. So it was like, as I was going to college, coming home on the weekends, and Mick the same thing, was driving 9-10 hours from New York down. And there's that point, but again, like, those people would not have let me in that dressing room if they didn't think I was going to be protective of it and respectful of it. Yeah. The same thing for you. Like, there's like those butts that we had in the past and things. For us, it's my take on the business today is, give me a couple $1,000, buy a pair of boots and tights, and I'll just dish the secrets of the business out to you.
Hey, you don't even have to give people a couple $1,000.
Right.
That's the sad thing.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, here.
Right.
And there's no earning.
Yeah.
There's nothing to earn anymore. Yeah. And I tell everybody all the time, I say, I'm the old guy now. I'm the old fart saying the shit that nobody wanted to hear, right?
Right.
Because I said, I told my youngest son, his name's Kali, he's 11, 12, he's big 12.
Yeah.
I said,
pianist?
Yeah, pianist, yes. Yeah. But he loves wrestling. He wants to be a wrestler. He does acting and everything. I know, that's what I tell him, right? He loves it.
Yeah.
But I said, Kali, I explained to him everything because he studies the business. Like, we were watching Mid-South yesterday morning. We were eating pancakes and eggs and watching Mid-South wrestling.
Right.
Watching Shawn Michaels and Sergeant, what was his name? I never heard it. First time I seen him versus, I never heard of the guy before.
Yeah.
But
Enhancement guy?
Enhancement guy.
Yeah.
It was versus the Guerreros. So they get the piss out of him and Shawn Michaels. Sure. And Shawn was probably like 18, 19, I don't know. And we're watching it. My son looks, he says, that's Shawn Michaels? I said, yeah. And I said, look, that's Chavo Guerrero's dad. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm explaining everything. And breaking everything down. And he goes, oh, really? Okay. He's like, so they, because he knew who they were, but they're so young, they look, and they're fucking going to town.
Sure.
They're going to town. So he's loving it because he's seeing familiar faces. And he's like, oh, this is when they started, this is when I was like, look, Jake the Snake. Here's this guy, here's Ted DiBiase. But you know what I mean? Like, he's got a baby face.
Sure, yeah.
I was like, they all came out of Louisiana. We in Louisiana. I'm teaching them roots. And I said, here's the thing, Kali. I said, you get to hang out with all these because he loves the old timers.
Yeah.
And he likes some of the new guys too, but he really likes the old timers.
Sure,
and his favorite wrestler is Tatanka.
Okay,
that's
good.
So just because he likes the image and
of course, yeah.
But I'm like, the cool thing is there's still some of those guys like you and stuff and the guys that come around, and he gets to spend time with them, and he had the stories. I said, y'all are the last of that breed.
Yes, yeah.
I came along in that mid-cusp. I was 10 years too late, 10 years too early, whatever.
But close enough to dabble something.
Yes, in both of it. I'm in the middleman.
Right.
So I'm so much in the middle of it. I picked up so much with y'all, and I lean more to y'all, but I also had that fire of like some new style coming in, but learning the business and the psychology. So I'm explaining to him how important it is for him to get, and how, like, hey, now that you have access to them, because you're my son and you love it, you have access to these guys, so it's important for you to learn from these guys and have this knowledge. And it's cool to sit there with an 11-year-old and just, he's eating it up and getting it and eating it up and wanting to learn more and asking questions.
And it's cool that as a father, you're giving what wasn't given to you.
Yeah.
And you're 11-year-old and, like, you know, I tell my kids all the time, you're young and dumb. And I said, and then my Connor said, you think we're stupid? I said, oh my God, that's what that means, right? It's, you haven't lived, you haven't, you know,
experience.
Experience.
Life experience.
Your experience would suggest that you would not end up in a place with your 11-year-old doing this. Like,
exactly.
You know, incredibly inspirational. I mean, we barely scratched the surface. I've got to have you back because there's so many other things I want to talk about. But the one thing I do want to say on camera is, pat yourself on the back, dude. I mean, I'm not one of those guys that say, hey, you know, the self-hug or whatever. There are, if we listen to the experts, they'll say, you couldn't succeed. You were going to be the one that fell through the cracks, right? And sort of just, well, nothing we can do for him, let's just let it go. And that never sat well with me. That's why I got out of teaching. I was being given reasons in teaching. The principal superintendent one time told me, let your kids sleep, because if they're sleeping, they're not causing trouble. And my brain's going, what do you, let them sleep. I'm trying to teach these kids so they can make it out there in that shitty place called the world. To see somebody that had so little, with all the books that I've read about education, I said, you were not going to succeed. It was impossible.
Yeah, that's what it was. That's how they beat down on you too.
Yeah, and there's an X factor there, like I've always talked about. What is it right there that I can't quantify that? I can't write a book about what's inside your head or heart. How hard is Luke willing to work? Is he willing to succumb? Because if you're told, if from the time you were able to understand words, you're a victim, Luke. You can't succeed. Let me give you this, right? Doing that is dumping a water on that fire in your chest. That fire that wild stallion you have to break out of, but once you break it, the stallion is still a stallion. He's just going to be able to direct that energy in a place. For me, like our friendship aside, as somebody that sat and watched minuscule parts and knew very little, if any, of that other story.
But also key parts, because you were there for the breakout parts. I mean, because you were there. As much as I hate XPW, you were there. And you were the leader. Right. You know what I'm saying? That was your deal. And then, you know, through my mid-years, and you go to the years where I was angry and I said, fuck the world, right? And I said, fuck you. Yeah. That's the stallion. That was a stallion, but that's what gave me, and because of what you did, it led to me to follow a similar path, and because of our issues, like, people thought, oh shit, this Luke guy, because it wasn't just you, because, you know, I did it with a few people, but you were the main one because you meant the most. My relationship with you, I didn't have one, but it meant the most because of what you meant to me. So,
as an entity. Like you knew me as the franchise.
Yes, as a character, and like I said, but as who I looked up to. As my youthful years, right? And when I was around you, it was like, okay, I'm around Shane Douglas. He's my idol, but you gotta be cool, and you know, but you also gotta respect, but you also want to learn as much as too. So when you know, but shit, I got thrown off a little bit. But I was saying, what was I saying?
Well, it's a delicate dance, right? Because you have all this pent up emotion, anger, skill, all of that. Yeah. But it needs to be molded in a direction.
100%. I didn't need some more, but I also needed opportunity. Yeah. And the fact that I was willing to go out and look for it and open up doors, and people didn't know if it was a work or if it was real. So they were like, is this fucking kid crazy or is he not crazy? Right. Yeah. And nobody knew, but it was enough to open up the doors to where people wanted to give me more opportunities in wrestling.
But you didn't call Dave Meltzer and say, here's what you really want to do.
No.
Because it was your angle, it was your approach into how to get into that fraternity.
Well, what I learned it's a wrestling angle, even though we didn't talk about it. Right. What I learned was go after what you want. Right. Yeah. There's always rights and wrongs, right? You can do it in
no perfect way.
Right. But go after it. Mm-hmm. Because when I tried to ask for anything, I said, hey man, I want to work with you. Yeah. Not you, but I go up to wrestlers and say, I really like to work with you, I got this idea. it was always a no. Oh yeah, in one ear, out the other. They didn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
But as soon as I got on the internet and I said, yo, and it wasn't just, I didn't say, hey man, fuck you, you piece of shit.
Right.
I said, this, I used something personal.
Yeah.
And then I triggered it with a fuck you. So it got some attention.
Sure.
So anytime I did that, and people would go, or if I cut a promo and I wanted to work an angle, I would cut a promo with somebody and I'd say, blah, 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 and I would just throw your name on, not yours. And then the guy would call me up or message me and go, hey, I see you put this on and you said my name. Why would you do that, man? That's not cool. I thought we...
Workers in a work business.
Yeah. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Are you a wrestler or you got feelings, motherfucker?
Right. Yeah. It's look, I have it back because there's again we haven't even scratched the surface on this, and there is, I assure you guys, there is so much more to this story that I think as we old timers sit and talk about what the business lacks today. It's not an ABC listing thing. I can give you a list of things. I can do that, but it wouldn't really make sense to the viewer. To hear these stories of where we're going to go with this and to reveal as much of it as you want to reveal. I think you viewers at home that love this show because we do delve in behind it with that stuff. It's not blowing the kayfabe, it's explaining to you where these ideas and where these things get created out of, and those seeds get planted that actually draw money, that actually fill buildings.
And it's real.
And it's real, because there's a ton of it. Like your entire story is, there's a 1% of it that's the work.
Right.
But there's so much more behind that. But Luke, the fact that you were able to not only get into the business and pursue the dream that you had as a kid, but that you've been able to take that, use it as a platform to move into television and movies and other things. I'm proud to know you. I'm proud to see that you've been able to do that, because very few in our business do that. But I assure you viewers, there is a whole lot more to this story that you're going to want to hear. So I appreciate you being on here, brother.
Thank you.
And we'll definitely be back. And when you see number 2 with Luke Hawx come up, make damn sure you click on it, because Appalachian Expose is going to show you things that all these other sites tell you they're going to show you. It's a shoot and all that. It's going to be the real deal here. Appreciate you being here, Luke.
Let's do it. Real